So hello everyone. Oh, sorry. All right. Hello everyone. My name is Becky with Scott Leroy Marketing, and today we are going to be doing our Lone Wolf 101 class. So we'll be going through the basics of Lone Wolf. So I will be jumping into that. I do have to let a couple people in, so give me just a second to do that. But as we go into this, just a couple of things. As we go through, if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I will do my best to get them answered in real time. Generally, for the sake of timing, I may have to save some questions for the end, unless it's something I can answer really quickly in the moment, which I will try to do, but is not always possible. So if you have questions as we go through, just go ahead and drop them in the chat. I promise I am not ignoring you. If I don't answer your question right away, I'll do my best to get all of those answered as we go through. But again, I will save a couple minutes at the very end just to make sure we can get through other questions as well if I wasn't able to cover them. So again, feel free to drop them in. If you're watching this back on recording and you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email. Our email is support@scottleroymarketing.com. I'll drop that in the chat for all of you here with me as well. It's support@scottleroymarketing.com. All right. So just drop that in the chat for you. Feel free to reach out to us via email if you have any questions or running into problems that you need troubleshooting for. We're more than happy to help jump in and help out however we can, and we can help escalate it to KW support if necessary. So, and KW support works with Lone Wolf support, so they can get you all hooked up if we are unable to fully do it on our end, but we will definitely take a look at it for you. So we'll go ahead and we will jump in, as well as one more thing. Today's class recording will be available on our YouTube channel in about 24 hours. We do aim for end of business day, especially since it is a Friday. So hopefully by end of day today, it should be uploaded for you to check out. You can go to our YouTube channel. It is just youtube.com/Scott Leroy Marketing. And we are uploading videos there. We have a ton of tip videos on there as well. When you are on our YouTube channel, we do always recommend that you look for the most recent video. Things are always changing, both with Command and the services that we are offering here at Scott Leroy Marketing. So we just always recommend keeping an eye out for up-to-date videos. If you use this videos tab right here, it will put our videos in reverse chronological order. In other words, the most recent video will be up at the very top, and they will get older the further down you scroll. So definitely recommend checking that out. If you go to the playlist tab, you can also see our Lone Wolf playlist where we post our tip videos and things like that. So feel free to go check that out. We have a ton of tip videos on there that you are more than welcome to watch that should help. They're a little bit shorter than our classes, but they should definitely help with a bunch of the littler things within Lone Wolf, or just doing, different bits and pieces of it. Alrighty, so without further ado, we are going to jump into today's class here. I just realized that it did not drop that email address in there properly. I think it just went to the waiting room, so there we go. So I'll drop the link, our email address, as well as our YouTube link. There we go. So you should be able to grab those if you need to. All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. Now, if you have already set up your Lone Wolf account, you can hang tight for just a second. I'm just going to show you where you can set up your Lone Wolf account if you have not already done so. We do have a tip video that walks you through it step by step. Would highly recommend checking that out. I'm just going to basically be showing you where you can set that up, but we won't be going through the full process of setting that up here. So just wanted to go ahead and let you know that. But we're going to go ahead. We're in this account right here in Command, agent.kw.com, if you are not familiar with Command. And we're just going to go to our name in the top right corner, and we're going to go to Settings. Now, under Settings, you're going to see a bunch of different applications here that you can connect. If you have some already connected, those will be moved up to the very top, so it can appear in a different order than you're seeing on my screen. But this is where you would be able to go in and connect your third-party applications, including Lone Wolf Transact. So you'll see it under the Digital Signatures and Transactions section, and you would just click Connect Account right here. And then it will give you this pop-up where you will go through and set up your account, enter an email address, It does not have to be a KW email address. Whichever email address you want to use will be perfectly fine. You can also change it at a later time if you would like to. That is also perfectly fine. So feel free to go in and set that up under whichever email you prefer to use as your primary business email address. If you do have an account, you can just sign in the same account that you would use for things like zip forms and transaction desk and really any Lone Wolf product. You would be able to sign in with those same logins. It will create a separate Transact account within your Lone Wolf. So it would be, two separate accounts there. It won't merge the accounts, but you can sign in and just have them all under the same logins. That way you can easily toggle between the accounts there. You can also click sign up right here and go through the process of entering your email address and then signing up. It'll ask you a few questions. You'll just want to go through, fill out the form that it loads for you. And then once you do that, it should give you access to your Lone Wolf account right here. Again, I'm not fully going through setting up an account just because we do have a tip video on that and just, for the sake of timing. But definitely feel free to check out our tip video. And if you have any questions or run into any snags with it, again, just feel free to reach out to us via email. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to minimize this tab real quick, and we'll look at an account that already has Lone Wolf connected. Alrighty, so there's a couple different ways we can access Lone Wolf Transact. I'll show you two of the main ways, and then we'll kind of jump in when we do opportunities. So one of them would be to go to your name in the top right corner. We'll go to settings again, right where we would have set up that account. And we would just click go to Transact under Lone Wolf, and it will load it for us. It may take a moment, but we'll let it load here. And then right here, you'll see that you have the option to go and manage your account, settings, things like that. So that will bring you directly to Lone Wolf. You can also go to platform.lwolf.com or foundation.lwolf.com. They'll redirect you to the same place. So either works just fine. I'm going to drop those in the chat as well. Again, it is platform.lwolf.com and foundation.lwolf.com. So both of those links will bring you to this same place here. All right, so we have those options, and then we also have the option to go through an opportunity. Now we will come back to Transact in a moment or so, but first we're going to go ahead and create a demo opportunity really quick. So I'm just going to go to this opportunities tab, and I'm going to quickly go in and create an opportunity. We'll say listing, and I'll go in and fill this out. Oops. Go ahead and create a new contact here. And so we're just going to go ahead and just create a really quick opportunity through here. So we'll go in and create it. All right. Now, once we are in here, we can go over to our documents tab. So any opportunities that you have that are not previously connected to a different or e-signature platform, like if they were previously connected to DocuSign or Dotloop, you cannot then connect Lone Wolf in that opportunity as well. But if it has not been connected to an e-signature provider yet, you can just go here and click sync with Transact. When you do that, it is going to load Lone Wolf for you. It'll take a moment while it's creating that. Make sure you have your pop-ups allowed here. Clearly, I do not. So we'll go ahead and I'm just going to allow that. And then we'll just click go to Transact and it will bring us there. So make sure you have your pop-ups allowed, especially for Lone Wolf. But it would bring you here directly. Now, a couple things to note really quickly here. If you are in a market center that has different checklist types, you can go in and just select this drop-down menu and select from the list. Not all market centers have, multiple options. Some do have multiple options. Some just have the one option when you're creating an opportunity. So if you're not seeing the ability to go to Transact from here, or if it's grayed out, just go ahead and click this drop-down menu and select the one that fits. I'm just going to head with what it has here. And also when we get over to our transaction, you're also going to see a bunch of documents appearing on my side. So you may not see this in your end. It is fully dependent on how your market center is set up, how they've set up Lone Wolf. So maybe, there's different documents that you may need. And so they haven't gone ahead and assigned specific documents but they may have documents already assigned that would automatically populate. So if you're not seeing them, or if you are seeing them, either way, it's not going to necessarily be a big deal. You may want to reach out to your Market Center staff. They may be working on creating that checklist to assign those documents, but it's not going to automatically appear for everyone. So just something to keep in mind. And also, as we go through, obviously, I am doing a demo in a, it's linked to a specific Market Center. So, you may see different forms than what you have, or, obviously these things can be very different just depending on where you are. State level, local level, your documents are going to be different no matter where you are. So, unless you are in this specific Market Center, yours will be different. Just wanted to go ahead and let you know there in case you're wondering why you see different documents than you would see on your end here. So we'll go ahead and we are going to look at this. Now, if we go back over to our opportunities, one quick thing I want to talk about here, we can go over to our details tab. And as we fill out this information with the opportunity type, obviously pulls in our opportunity name, the phase, stage. As we fill in, those will probably not really affect your Transact, but on the left-hand side, we have the property. So you can add a KWLS listing if you have one, if you have a listing, or we can enter the address here. So we can say 123 Main Street, Classic, and we can just grab one here, and then we can go ahead and save it, and it will apply the listing address here to our transaction. You will see that it will be like this reddish, brown, orange, whatever color. It'll say it's not synced to Transact, so we'll look at that in a second. We can go in, we can fill out the dates, the property classification and type, the contact information, the list information. We can even fill out these key dates over here. And as we fill out more information and sync it over to Transact, go ahead and click sync to Transact. Then when we go over to our transaction, then it will show that updated information when we're linking properties and things like that. So I'm going to pull this up and we should be seeing, there we go. Now we're seeing that address that we entered in as our listing address on this opportunity. So we have those options. We can go back to our opportunity. We can add, let's see, we'll click this. We can toggle between, we can change the seller on there. We can go to the contact and update it. We can go over to our transaction. Now we're going to go ahead and do a quick overview of what we're seeing here before we actually walk through step by step what we are going to do here. A couple things to note if you were familiar with DocuSign before we fully jump in, lest I use terms that confuse you. There are a couple differences with terminology in Lone Wolf versus DocuSign. So I'm going to clarify that for anyone that was previously a DocuSign user. So DocuSign, as you are, I'm sure, aware, had DocuSign rooms. Lone Wolf, those are called transactions. DocuSign had envelopes in order to send things out for signatures, and Lone Wolf has signings. So there's a couple, those are the two biggest differences. So if you hear me referring to them as transactions and signings, they would be what were previously rooms and envelopes in DocuSign, and it'll make sense as we go through. There are a couple other terms that I will clarify as we get to them, but those are the two biggest ones to cover here. Alrighty, so we are in here, and on the left-hand side, we have our listing information. We can click on that, and we can upload an image if we want one. We can edit the details on a different tab, but we'll look at that in a second. We have the option, we can see the status here. We can mark it as active. When the offer is accepted, we can mark it as accepted. We can mark it as closed. We can reopen it if we accidentally marked it as closed, and it does bring us right back to the beginning. Now, if you go a little too far, maybe we go offer accepted and it's just active. Once these clear out, we can click these three dots in the top right corner and just click undo status update. We'll just say yes, and it will bring us back to the previous status. So we do have that option to go back if we've accidentally marked it as active. That is not directly synced with your opportunities in command. So you would still need to move it to the active phase and, move it to under contract phase and things like that. You have those options here. So this is separate, but it will just kind of help you keep in step there. Now, I did see a question, someone saying they had trouble logging in. Can I please explain how to get into Lone Wolf again? So yeah, so anyone that's just joining in or maybe was having issues when they first got here, there's a couple different ways we can go into our Lone Wolf Transact. First one, probably the easiest, is if you are in your command already. If we go to settings, we can seriously just go here and click go to Transact, and it will open it up in a new tab. You can also go to foundation.lwolf.com or platform.lwolf.com, and those will bring you here as well. Probably most direct through Lone Wolf because that will already go ahead and sign you in once you go through command. So it should bring you through there. You can also go through your opportunities like we were just doing here. Let me grab the one we were just in. And then under Documents tab, you can go to Transact right here. So you'll be able to go directly through there as long as your Lone Wolf is already connected to your command. Go ahead and we will keep going here. But we're back over in our Transact, and we can, if it's terminated, we can do that through here as well if we need to. But I am going to leave that as is. We can go over here up at the top. They kind of moved this around if you were here when they just put out Lone Wolf Transact for KW. A lot of this stuff used to be over here, but they've moved it to these details tabs across the top. So you have all of the information up here. So we can go here. Next, we have our details tab. And this is where we have our property information. So you can go in and fill this out. Now, obviously, this did pull in directly from our opportunity when we synced that information over. So you're going to see the address, the city, state, things like that, that pulled in from the opportunity. If we had entered the property type, the list price, the list date, listing expiration, things like that through there, then we would have seen it automatically pull in as well. But you can go through and you can fill out any of this information. You can also import the data directly from the MLS. If you need to, you can go in and do it that way. So as we go down, you can fill out all of this information and it should auto-populate into documents. Now, you don't necessarily have to fill out every single field here. Not every field will necessarily be used in your market, in the, listing documents that you're using at your market center. So, just know what you need. You'll probably figure that out more as you go through. Otherwise, we can add it in manually. We'll kind of get familiar with what information pulls into documents already or what information you might need in those documents already. Next, we have our parties tab right here. That is going to be the different people that are on this document or on this transaction. So we have our market center is automatically added. We have ourselves as the agent also automatically added. And we have our contact from our opportunity who is also automatically added. We can edit them. We can go in and we can fill this out with the information. So we can continue filling this out. Maybe we need to go in and add an email address. So we can go here and fill that out. So we can go through. We can save it to the contacts if we needed to. The contacts with your opportunity or with your command and your Lone Wolf are not directly synced. So you do have a separate contacts contact book, I guess you could call it, in Lone Wolf. It's not necessary. You don't necessarily need to import your contacts into Lone Wolf. You can if you want to, but otherwise you can just add them as you go through. They will pull in directly from opportunities in, and then any additional parties you can add in as well if you need to. We'll go ahead and just save that so we have that added here. We can also go over, we can add another party. So if we need someone from our contacts, we could, or we can create new here. We can select the role. So maybe we want to add an admin. We can add them in here. Go ahead and oops. So we can just kind of fill this out. We'll go through and just enter all of that information that you need in there. And then you can enable the client portal, which would allow them access to the transaction if you needed that. So they are, an admin, so we can go ahead and give them access here. And we can change what they have permission to do. So are the property details hidden, or can they view them? Offer details, party details, paperwork, can they view, or is it hidden? And can they add documents here? So we can go ahead and we can save that, and it would give them portal access, or we can turn that off. Oh, let's go here. ahead and save that here. And then we just have that, admin added in here. Next, we have our signings tab here, and this will show any signings that we've created. We will circle back here once we've actually created a signing, probably in about like 20-ish minutes. We'll do that closer towards the end of class, just with how it's laid out here. Next, we have to do, which is going to allow you to create a built-in checklist. So you can assign to do items for yourself. Now, these are, again, separate from your opportunities in command. They don't sync with the opportunities directly. But if you want to add in a to-do list here, you absolutely can. If you're someone that likes to have, a ton of to-do lists, a ton of checklists, so that you can just kind of keep yourself on track, this is a great way to do that. We can go in, we can click add list, and we can enter in a list here. So we'll say a new listing, we can create that, and then we can go in and create a to-do list here so we can add them in here. So let's see, first one, we can say something along the lines of, let's see here, schedule photography. And we can set in our due date through here, doing a specific date or relative to the transaction dates. So we can set those in here based off of those smart due dates, like they would be called in command. So we can say before, and you can say how many days before. Let's go 5 days before here. And then you can add details here, and any reminders, you can add them in here. So if you need a reminder, you can do that. And then we can click save, and it will show us our to-do list here. You can go through and keep creating them, those to-do items, as you need to, and then you can mark them as complete once they are done. So that's just some cool options in here that you can go in and edit. Next, we have our timeline here, where we can kind of schedule out events. So this is not linked to a specific calendar, but it does have a calendar for this specific transaction. So if you need to add an event, maybe we want to add an event for, we'll say maybe tomorrow, and we'll say hosting first open house. Then you can go ahead and save it. So then you can see as a calendar what you have upcoming. And, first open house, we can do one, Sunday or next week or something like that. So you can kind of just fill this out, and then you have a calendar of all of the things that have happened. And that just kind of helps give you a timeline of what's happened. You can go in and add those manually through here if you'd like to do that. Then we also have the history tab right here, which is going to allow you to go in and see when different things happened. So transaction was created, and we have the time and date, property details modified, time and date. So we have all of this information through here that you can go in and just kind of filter by the different types of activity and just kind of see what has happened with this transaction since it was created. So you know the times and dates there. So we'll go back over here to our paperwork tab really quickly. And then we're actually going to go out to transactions in a moment. But one thing I forgot to show you on the paperwork tab, we're going to look at this a little more closely in a second here. But I didn't fully go into detail on the paperwork tab because I got excited about jumping into details. Sorry about that. But we have our paperwork tab right here. A couple different things we can do. We can upload paperwork, so we can add it here. So we can, if you're not seeing your NAR forms, we can check the boxes down here and kind of filter by which real estate commission or NAR we need access to. If you do not have your NAR forms added in, we can just click unlock more libraries, and you can go in and update your NRDS ID, or you can add your NRDS ID if you have not already. You should not need to buy form libraries. You should have access to those through NAR, so you should not need to buy form libraries usually. Just wanted to highlight that. I'm sure you could buy form libraries, but you shouldn't generally need to. Adding your NRDS ID should add in your documents. If you are in Canada, you can add your CREA web forms right here, so you can go and link those. If you are in Oregon or Georgia, you can link those. Those are a little bit separate from the NRDS ID. There were some I guess, problems at the very beginning. So I guess this is how they are getting those resolved, is you can add them in separately. And we have seen that working a lot better than they were at first. So especially with Georgia forms, there were a lot of problems at the beginning, but they seem to be straightened out now that they've added this in. So that is nice to see for sure. But you can go in, you can add forms from your form library here. We can also go over to our upload tab here and upload documents manually. There's a bunch of different file types. PDF is probably going to be your most common one that you would upload here, but you can drag and drop a file here. So if we have one on our computer, you would be able to go in and drag and drop it over here to upload it directly to your transaction. We can create a new folder. The folders are just going to be these different folders in here for how the documents are sorted. So a good option for that, maybe you had a transaction, if you had your listing already under contract, and for some reason that fell through, as they sometimes do, then you could go in and without having to recreate the transaction, we can also say new folder, and then we could say original under contract, or original contract, or whatever we needed to add in here. Let me go through. And then you would be able to drag those documents down here just to keep it all organized, because you can use the same opportunity in order to upload those documents without having to create a new opportunity if it does for some reason fall through. So that'll just help you keep it all straight. And then we also have the option to upload those documents by email. So clicking this option will give you an email right here. It is a very long email address, but it is going to be directly tied to this transaction. So if you send your document, maybe you have to, oh, I just copied it like 3 different times. But if you are going to, email the documents yourself, maybe someone emailed it to you as a PDF and you need to forward it to Lone Wolf to be able to send it out for signature. You can go ahead and copy this email address, and then you can just forward the document over to this email address and it will upload directly into your transaction. We can select where the paperwork is uploaded to instead of, if you do just the paperwork tab, it will be a not filed folder. It will create one for you, and you can just move it around. We can go ahead, we could drag and drop them down if we needed to move them around. So just grab the 6 dots and drag it wherever you need it to be. Alrighty, so you can also move the folders, add more paperwork, rename the folder, delete the folder. You have those options here. So I'm going to go back out here to our transactions really quickly. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what we are seeing here. So through here, we have our transactions. We would be able to see all of our transactions appearing right here. We have signings. This will show all of the signings you have created for your opportunities or for your transactions, I should say. So you have the option to go in and create signings manually right here if you need to, but generally you would create those through your transactions, which we will talk about again in just a moment. And then we also have templates. Now, templates are super cool. Templates will become one of your best friends when it comes to Lone Wolf Transact. Definitely recommend, if you have not started creating your templates, that you go ahead and start creating those. So templates, they're very different, or yeah, they're very different from DocuSign templates if you were familiar with DocuSign templates. So this is yet another terminology difference. But templates here are going to allow you to go in. We'll go ahead and we'll say, we'll do the listing, and we can set our ownership as ourselves. We can enter a description if we need to. Then we can go ahead and create it. So a template is going to allow you to assign specific paperwork, specific parties, and specific to-do items to this template. So we can go in, we can add paperwork. Maybe we need, let's see here, disclosure. Always a good one. So we can go in and we can find one that we would need. So if you have any of these forms you needed to add in automatically, you could do that. realizing that there are a lot of ones with the name disclosure. But you could go in and you can grab whatever ones you need. Again, you would probably see different forms in here. Everyone's are a little bit different. We'll just go ahead and add mineral oil gas. So we'll go ahead and add that one in there. So you can go in and add multiple different options for paperwork through here. We can download it, print it, delete it from here as well. But we're just going to go ahead and we'll go over to the parties tab as well. So we can go in, we can add parties if we needed to create one. We can go in, we can set our admin if we need to add them in every time so that we have them as a party on the transaction. We could do that. So we can go in and then we can say their information here. Do the same one we did before, and then we can go ahead and save it here. And then we can also go over and do to-do lists. So if we need to regularly add the same to-do items to our to-do list, we could. And we can, go in and add this in, create it. We'll just do the same one we did earlier. Add a to-do list here, and we'll schedule the photography. And I'm just going to go with the same thing we did before, just so that we can, actually, I'm just going to add that in there so that we can see the additional one being added, just because I want to show you what it looks like. So we can go in before our list date and we'll save it. So we can go back out here to our templates, and now we have this template created through here. So you can create as many templates as you need. And then when you go into your transaction, so I'm just going to go back into the one we created a minute ago. If you click these three dots in the top right corner, once again, we can click Apply Template, and it's going to allow us to select a specific template that we've created. So it will give you a list of those right here. So we can select that, and it's going to give us a preview of what is going to be added. Now, keep in mind that if, for example, this paperwork, the mineral oil and gas rights, this specific form was in our transaction already, it would not add it as a duplicate. It will skip over it, so it would not be added again. So you do not have to worry about that and trying to figure out what's already added or not. Now, if you do need to take any of this off, maybe we don't need to add the party since we do have this admin already added to the transaction, we can just deselect the checkbox next to their name so that it doesn't automatically import. And we can go ahead and click apply right here. And we'll see that the paperwork got moved here to the not filed folder. So if we need to add that down to our listing documents, we can do that, drag it down. We can also go over to the parties tab. You'll notice that it did not add a new demo here. If we go over to do, we will see that we do have that second one added in because we chose to add it in again. That's why I put a 2 on it so that we could see that it was the one we created with our template, but it does add it in to our paperwork tab here. Alrighty, so a couple other things to look at before we jump into sending documents out for signature. One primary, we'll click these 3 dots once again, and you do have the option to share a transaction. Now, this is going to allow you to share it with KW Associates. So if they are activated as an agent in KW in a market center, you can click this share button and you can manage groups. So your market center generally already has a shared group created for your market center if you need that. A lot of times they'll create one, but we can go in and we can click manage groups, and we can go in and add a new group here. We can add our, go ahead and add that. You can automatically share transactions with them, or we can leave it off. Either way, it's up to you. And then you can select the office that they would be with. So you can say, just go. You can select the market center, and then you can select the agent from the drop-down menu here if you need to automatically share it with them. So maybe you have someone on your team that you need it automatically shared with or something like that. You can select them from that list and automatically share transactions with them. Then you would be able to save it, and then we could go back to our transaction, and we can click share, and we could choose our share group. Now, obviously I didn't add a person, so it didn't add a secondary share group here, but this one has ourselves, so we could choose to edit that or manage or remove it right there. So we have that option there. One other thing that I do get asked very frequently is also about teams. Since I did just share the share group information, if you are on a team, if the opportunity is created through your team account, any assignees will have access to it, to that transaction through their individual Lone Wolf account. You will connect Lone Wolf once. It will be one Lone Wolf account, whether you are on a team, your personal account, or both. Your Lone Wolf account will work with both accounts. So you will have the same account for both your team and personal. So you'll just connect it once. It does not matter if you connect it under your settings in your team account or your personal account. Either way, it will be connected to the other as well. And then when a team is creating the opportunity in the team command account, then it will share it with anyone that has been added as an assignee and the Rainmaker. So once it's created, you'll be able to go to your opportunity like you would normally and just click go to Transact, and it would pull up the transaction for anyone that's an assignee just within their own personal accounts. So just wanted to go ahead and highlight that since, again, I do get asked that fairly frequently. Just wanted to clarify that one for anyone here on a team. All right, but we're going to go back over to our transaction and we're going to jump into signing documents. So when you are signing documents or sending documents out for signature, a lot of the time there's some editing that needs to be done. You need to make sure the forms are filled out, things like that. So we can go in, we can click the checkbox next to the forms that we need. So we can select multiple forms if we need to. We can scroll down, any that we need down here. And then we can go in to our editor right here. It's going to do the same thing if we, I'm going to deselect them, if we just clicked on the document itself. It likes to ask how satisfied you are with Transact. You can feel free to answer that. But then you can go in and you can see your form here. It will allow you to edit any of these fields here. Now you'll notice, again, it did pull in directly from our property address, our listing address we put, and then also pulled our owner's name from the contact we have as our seller in our transaction. So it pulls that information in. We can go in, you'll notice that they're, you know, a little bit blue, and you can go in and fill those through there if you need to. We also have the option to add more documents on the left-hand side, things like that. We can go in, we can add parties if we need to, listing information, we can fill this out. The offer information, we can fill that out. Any clauses we need to create or enter in. So if there's something that you regularly have to enter in as a clause on a document, you can create a clause and then you would be able to assign it to add it to any of those documents that you needed. You can go see if there's any, you know, from your library or your office. Your office may have some or may not, as well as your personal ones. So you can look through all of those and create a clause if you need to add that in. You also have these tools that you can go in and add text boxes to our document. So we can go in and we can add our field text color. So we could change the text color for those fields. But we can go in, there we go. So we can go back and let me close that out real quick. Let me just click that and click delete real quick so we can look at that again. So you'll just click your text box and then you can click wherever you need it to be. So we can just enter our text here and then they would be able to fill this out through here, or you can fill that out as you need it. So we'll go ahead and delete that. Again, same with highlighting, drawing a line, freehand striking through text, any watermarks you need to add. So we can do that. Alrighty, this is one page, but if it were multiple pages, we would also have the option to split and rotate the document if we needed to split it into multiple documents. That is for PDFs that have been uploaded as well, not just forms. All right, so we can go ahead, we can prepare the signing through here. So that is one we'll want to look at here. I'm going to go ahead and just click prepare signing. Actually, I'm going to go back. We could click prepare signing once we've edited it. Also with editing, we can just save our changes and go back out and it will automatically have our changes saved out here. So then we can select any documents we need and we can go ahead and go into sign it. So it's going to give you this pop-up right here. It'll tell you that it's going to be creating a signing through Authentisign, which is the #1 signature platform in real estate. So it will, you know, kind of tell you that. We can go in, we can create a signing name. This is going to show to your contacts as the signing name. So when it sends them an email saying, your signature is requested, it will tell them what it's requested on. We can set our return folder as well. The return folder is each of these folders through here. And once that document is signed, where will it be sent to? Now, if we have this blank, it's just going to go to the not filed. It will create a not filed section. And again, you can just drag and drop it down to the listed, the under contract, anything like that. We're going to go in, we'll go with our listed again. We'll go ahead and create the signing right here. So we'll take a second, we'll let it load, do some thinking here. Let me close that out real quick. Alrighty, so then right here we have the option to add participants to our transaction. So we can go ahead and add ourselves, we can add new, we can add them from the transaction or from our contacts. Definitely, generally recommend adding from transaction. So this is who's going to be signing on the document. So we'll go ahead and we'll add ourselves here real quick. We'll add the seller. You'll notice again that it does fill out the information through here, but you can go down, review anything that needs to be added in. Again, obviously add those in as you need to. This is a different document than I looked at before. Sorry if that was confusing. Let me scroll down real quick. Actually, let me go documents here, and I'm just going to reorder these. So I'm just going to drag this document right back up to the top so that it's in the same position we had before. There we go. Now, when you go in here, you're going to also see these checkboxes through here. So the checkbox group that they can go in and select the checkboxes through here. So it's going to be assigned to that contact specifically. Now, another thing, I'm going to go back up here to our signers tab. Now, if you, the agent, need to sign the document, maybe you need to sign it before you send it to the client. Maybe you need to sign it first. If you don't, you can add yourself as a signer. If you need to sign it before sending it over to your client, here's what I would recommend doing. There's options. You can send it to yourself if you want to add yourself as a signer. You can add participant, add yourself right there, and then you can go in and do it. But what I recommend doing generally is you can pre-sign the document without ever having to leave this signing. So we can go in, we can, once we have our, signers added, we have our documents adjusted, as we need them. We can go over to tools. I'm going to go ahead and close that out real quick. So we can add, we'll see that it is automatically selected for our seller. So we can go ahead and we can add new signature options here. So new text boxes, we can just drag in, or signature boxes, you can drag and drop those with the date right there, and you will see it appearing as a required field. Any initials. Now, obviously, this is buyer initials on this form. I was just showing you what it looks like. If, for example, maybe your disclosure statement does not automatically have these check boxes right here. So if maybe it doesn't automatically have those, you can also go in and add a radio button. Now the radio button is going to allow them to select one of the options. A checkbox will allow them to select multiple options. So if you needed them to select just one, we can go in and add this radio button. I'm just going to go ahead and put 3 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and I will drop it right here. And it automatically adds another one. You'll see that right there. We can click on that. And then we can just click this plus button right here, and it will add in a third button right here. And this will, they're all marked with the number 1. I have them right under, so you might not be able to see it very well, but you can see that they're all marked with the number 1. Now we can go in and add another radio choice option, and these will all be marked with a number 2. So that is going to allow you to see which ones are connected to each other. So any of them that are marked 2 means that they have to select one of the options. They can't select multiples there. Just something to keep in mind. It's a great option for creating, if you have to have a disclosure form or something like that. Those are generally good options to use. So you can do that through there. But also, back to what we were saying about signing the document yourself. We've added in all the fields we need for our seller, but we're just going to go ahead and click in this drop-down menu, and we're just going to go with ourself right here. So then we have the option, we can go in and see if there's any fields that we're supposed to sign in here. Let's see here. I'm going to go down, I'm going to go back up. We'll just go with this top one we had right here, and we'll just add ourselves here. I'm just going to click sign here. It's going to tell us this participant acknowledgement, read through it, read through the disclosures, terms of service, things like that, and then just click I accept once you've done all of that. And then you can go in, you can set the signature that you want for your documents. You can remember it for future signings, or you can just go ahead and set it. You can hand draw it if you are, good at electronically drawing your signature. That is not my strength. But we can go also upload a picture of it if we do have a picture of our signature. We can do that. We can go over and we can just set the signature right here. And we'll notice that it adds it in our signature right there. And then we can go in, we can add our initials if we needed to do that. And those were set as well. Now, obviously, those are not the fields where we would set them, but you can go in and add them wherever you need to be able to pre-sign the document. Alrighty, next we get to layouts right here. Now, under layouts are pretty awesome. Layouts are very similar to maybe what a template was in DocuSign, I guess is the best way to explain it. But a layout is going to allow you to, once you've added your fields for your signers, it's going to allow you to use those same pre-placed signing fields and markups in future transactions. So you'll notice we do currently have this signature or this signer as our seller right here. We do have to have fields created for that signer. We can go ahead and click layout options and we can create layouts. We can apply layouts if we have them created. We can go ahead and create layouts. We can choose what the layouts are applied to. Go ahead and create it just for the MOG. And then we can go ahead and close that out here. Now, layout options, we can go in and apply layouts for ones that we've created. So system layouts, as 2.0 layouts, things like that. So you can go in and select those layouts through there to use it again. And you'll notice that it does not automatically, you do have to have the seller one added to your document, but it will not pull in this specific signer. Hopefully that makes sense. So it won't pull in this specific signer, but it will assign it to whoever you have the seller as. So that's why you want to go ahead and create those layouts. It will definitely help you be able to, especially if you have disclosures that you need to add the radio buttons to, definitely create a layout, save yourself some time in the future without having to go place those every single time. It will definitely save you some time and energy to do that. We can go ahead and manage layouts, and I'm going to delete this one because I didn't actually need to create that. We also have our options button right here where we can set, time zone, change our own signature if we needed to, signing details. We need to change our signing name, expiration dates, reminders, things like that. But we are going to go ahead and we will just click next right here. And it will have us finalize this signing setup. So we'll see it right through here with the expiration date you can set, and we'll go ahead and click send. Now, let me get this pulled up really quickly so I can show you what it looks like when that email comes through for your, there we go. I'm going to drag this over. Give me just a second. All right. So we can see it right here. Let me make this bigger. It will show your name up here, and then it will say it's from Authentisign. So obviously make sure your clients are aware that they will be getting an email from Authentisign, so that they don't necessarily think it's a scam email. So you can go in, it'll tell them, what was put in here. We can go ahead and click start signing, and it will bring us into brought it into a different tab. Let me bring that over here as well. Same thing that we saw recently when we were signing it as ourselves. This is just in a different browser. We can go ahead and click I accept, and they can go through, set their signature. We'll go ahead and set the signature here, and they can go in and initial and sign where they needed to. Now, again, these ones have the check boxes, and here's what a radio button looks like. They can change the radio button, but it will only select one of them. So that's just something you can see through there. They can go through and sign wherever they need to. I'm just gonna go grab one at each of these real quick. And then they can sign right here. We'll accept that, sign here, and then they can click complete signing, and it will tell them that they are done. They can download it if they need to. Now, if we go back out here, I'm going to go up into our signing right here, and we will see that it was completed. So it shows complete right here. We can view the final, which will show us the signed document as a PDF, so we could do that. We can click these three dots and do the final, view certificates, duplicate signing details, or we can delete the signing. But now if we go over to our paperwork tab, we're going to see the signed documents we've uploaded right here. Now, once you have signed documents in here, then the next step is obviously to upload that to your opportunity in Command. So if we go over to our opportunities tab, now if I just click right here, it's not going to give me any options. You're going to have to refresh your page real quick. It does take a moment, so you'll just have to refresh your page from your opportunity. If it's not showing up, it should generally show up once you refresh it. Give it a second to load here. Or do it again. There we go. So now we have our documents tab right here, and now we can click drop down menu and we'll see those automatically pulling in. So we could go in and select them where they need to go, and then you can submit it to your market center. Now another option, if you are not seeing your documents up here, you can click these three dots right here, and you can include Transact forms, which will show all of the documents instead of just the signed forms. So it will show any of those. You may also need to switch around between filed and not filed if you're not seeing those documents in there, or just switch around between. I kind of see that question, but I'll answer that a little bit more in a minute. But if you're not seeing the document, actually, we'll just go ahead and answer that real quick. If you are not seeing the documents in here, just try playing around with your including Transact forms, and then go in and we can switch between our working folders as well. You can go over to your transaction. If it did pull up into the not filed, which it does if it doesn't automatically select it, you can just grab these 6 dots, and there we go. I'll show you what it would look like. It would show up in this not filed. You can just grab those 6 dots and you can drag it down here, and then again, just refresh your opportunity, and it should populate in there for you to grab it from there. Alrighty, so that is really all we have for today's class. If y'all have questions, I know there's some in the chat that I have not answered yet, so I'm going to go ahead and get to those. But if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If you're not sticking around for questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email. Again, that email is support@scottlavoymarketing.com. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this recording, and we'll get to our questions.